Coming up on Plane Crazy Down Under, the 2024 Pacific Airshow Gold Coast was a huge success, and we were there to catch up with the people that made it all happen. Air Commodore Micka Gray describes his role as the RAAF's head of air shows.
Yeah, in a lot of ways the flying's easy, but getting the ground stuff right is important. We're always looking to make that as good as possible.
Southport Flying Club's Craig Hobart outlines his airport's vital contribution.
It's a perfect location. There's no other location that can provide this. We're more than happy to support, and it's great to see the show going from strength to strength.
And guest of honour, Gary Cooper's story of courage and survival under fire will leave you speechless.
You're dead scared the whole time you're doing it, otherwise you're not human. There's nowhere to go and hide because you're centre stage when all these contacts are going on.
These stories and many, many more from the Pacific Airshow Gold Coast as we get plane crazy.
Well, g'day folks. Welcome back to Plane Crazy Down Under, the show, of course, where we love to get around Australia and get great stories about aviation. And boy, have we been doing that lately. I know it's been a little while, but welcome back, everybody. I'm Steve Fisher, and a big welcome to you, Grant McHerron. Where have we been?
Oh my God. Well, we've been up on the Gold Coast. So we got our last episode out just before we went to the Gold Coast. So we were up on the Gold Coast doing Pacific Air shows up there. And of course, our friend Brian had come all the way from LA to join the fun.
Yeah.
And so he had a lot of fun with us in the Gold Coast, didn't he?
He certainly did. I just wonder if the breweries up there have recovered from you two. By God, you two put away some beer.
Well, we continued that when we came back to Melbourne because he came back to visit us here. And unfortunately, the weather wasn't good to take him up for a balloon flight. So we just made up for it by drinking more beer down here, including Brian says it was 20 litres of my son's homebrew. It was probably about 18 because
that's okay then, yeah.
Yeah, well, we had two 10-litre kegs in the tap keg fridge at home, and he quite liked them. Kit and I had already sampled some of them before we went up to the Gold Coast, so yeah, call it 18, maybe 19 litres of beer.
Well, I think Brian, and of course we're talking about Brian Coleman from the Journey is the Reward podcast and also from the Airplane Geeks. I suppose he's safely back in California now where he's, probably in rehab and recovering or something. I don't really know. But,
well, he seems to be having a lot of fun. They've put out their episodes. We've had some delays on our end thanks to covering the big Land Forces event for one of our clients, Australian Defence Magazine. That kept us busy both there and also producing and releasing episodes. And you've been flat out with, I guess we can tell them, can't we?
Yes, with the Clear Signal, my radio show. So as we record this, I've made 15 of them now. So that's 30 interviews. And it's due to some music licensing restrictions, I can't actually put that out as a public podcast. But if you want to catch all the episodes of that, they are available at my website, which is clearsignal.com.au. There's you can go on there, and if you want to have an RSS feed to that, just send me an email and I'll send you a link to a private podcast, which should save me from getting hammered by music labels.
Yeah, we can but hope.
I got to say, music licensing, the music industry really needs to get with the times. You can license stuff for radio stations, you can license it for all sorts of other things, but licensing copyrighted music for podcast is an absolute nightmare. So anyhow, that's a subject for another time, Grant. Let's talk aviation. Let's talk the Pacific Airshow Gold Coast. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 interviews. So we've been busy.
Yeah, we have. It's going to be I'm pretty sure you already know that this one's landed in your inbox with a thud. Almost going back to our old days of Series 1 where we would do however long it took, and that's what we've done for this episode because, hey, we've owed you a few.
Yes, and not only can I not count time, I actually can't count interview numbers. We have 8, folks. We have 8 interviews, but there's some great ones there. So, a great range of people. Grant was up there. Grant, you were up there for the pre-event days, the media days, so you got a couple of great interviews there with some old friends of the show. The show also has a guest of honour every year. This year it was a gentleman by the name of Gary Cooper. Now, I want to highlight this interview just before we go into it because Gary Cooper is a man with a significant military history, both here with Australian forces and also with US forces, even though he's an Australian himself. Well, we'll have a bit of a talk about that at the end of the show too, but his story, and he'll tell some of it there, is absolutely jaw-dropping. So really looking forward to presenting that in this first part of the show. Also, we spent some time this time out at the Southport airport, which is where a lot of the aircraft were staging out of. So we got a couple of interviews there, catching up with Mark and Angela from the Freedom Formation, and also Craig Hobart, who is the manager there, I think. The manager, is that his title, at the Southport Aero Club. And, of course, back there at the venue on the final day, Grant, where we caught up with our friends from the Westpac Rescue Helicopter crew. And also, I'm really looking forward to presenting an interview we did with a couple of great guys who do some great new media work in aviation from SydSquad. Grant, now I spend way too much time looking at SydSquad videos. It's dropped my productivity a lot. And boy, have they got a following. So we're really looking forward to catching up with Kurt and Matt from SydSquad. We recorded that on the last day there after all the hype had died down, and we're sort of standing out of the beach and it was just us there. But yeah, they've got some great information on some of the wonderful things that they do. So big episode ahead, folks. Maybe strap it down for a couple of commutes. We're really looking forward to getting into it.
Total agreement, mate. And don't forget, there's always the pause button on your player. You can always come back to it, so you don't have to feel like you got to strap in and listen to the whole thing in one grueling session.
Okay, well, let's head off to the pre-event day and have a chat with our first guest, Jeff Boerboon, the pilot and owner of the Yak 110.
Jeff Boerboon, welcome back to Plane Crazy Down Under. How are you going?
Going very well, except for the rain today. But we're really excited for an absolutely amazing weather weekend and debuting for the first time with some new acts here, which is really exciting because, you know, it's not just about the Yak 110. Apparently there's a whole bunch of others. Yeah. But, you know, it's kind of cool this year because there are some new things, like the T-33, for example. Awesome, right? I mean, it's going to be amazing. We got the Leapfrogs coming in this year, some really cool military stuff. So I'm going to do my part to excite everybody with the Yak 110. Of course, we put two airplanes together and put a jet engine on it because why not, right? Yeah. Years of beers to make that all happen. But we're excited to be here again. I know I've got a bunch of family and friends actually that are coming to join this year, which is really cool because they saw the excitement last year and now we're here for the second time. I feel kind of like we're locals, right? Like My wife is super excited because she knows the lay of the land, and you know we went to a bunch of the local businesses here and they all remembered us from last year. It's so fun. And this year you can feel the buzz, the excitement of the Gold Coast Air Show is beyond what it was last year for sure. Everyone's excited to have the air show here.
It's a known substance, and let's face it, if you say I'm with that funny twin yak with the jet, they all know you.
Oh yeah, no, that's very true. So yeah, between my wife and I, they know who we are. Yak 110, we've been pretty fortunate to be on most of the TV stations around here, and I saw a big bus driving by the other day, and it was branded Pacific Airshow on the entire bus and a big Yak 110 right on the side. I was like, yes.
Doesn't get much better than that, does it?
We're on the bus. We've made it.
So I understand, so you were also flying at Shell Harbour earlier this year.
I did, yeah. Oh, it was awesome, yeah. So I came in the end of February, flew the airplane down to Shell Harbour, and we had great weather there for the show also. It was a little bit hotter than it is now, and I was actually surprised by that. When I landed in Brisbane, the humidity was horrible. I was like, whoa, my gosh. Yeah. But we had a great show. The weather got really nice for Shell Harbour, and fantastic show. Nice crowd there, and it was just cool to see the Yak 110 get to do another venue. It's so unique. I mean, what else? I mean, everyone loves to see a F-22 and an F-35. I mean, but everyone has seen those airplanes, right? So you go to an air show with a Yak 110 and everybody is blown away. Even coming back the second time to Gold Coast to see the airplane again is still mind-blowing, right? I mean, it's such a great air show airplane with that we call it cartoon aerobatics because it's doing things that no other airplane out here can do. That's for sure. And the fact that it's two different sounds, you got the jet sound, you got the prop sound, and is he on the right side? Is it the left side? Is it two pilots? What is he? It's like all the questions. And even when you see it for the second, third time, it's just as amazing. That's what everyone tells me, and I used to fly the jet Wacom. I was just at Oshkosh a couple weeks ago, and the Jet Walker was flying.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen it fly in a while, but you know what? It was just as exciting to see it again. Even though I've flown that airplane for years, and now it's been a couple years, I see the airplane. It's like, wow, this is just amazing. So I know it's a cool experience for me, because then I know that when I look down there, there's some kids on that beach that are going to go, this is what I want to do. Just like I did when I was 7 years old, saw this crazy flying. And that's what's really cool, is we get this opportunity. The Yak 110 is special in that way, because we have two airplanes that were otherwise sitting in the hangar collecting dust and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And so we've repurposed those, and now we have an airplane that gives me this opportunity to be here to excite the next generation of future aviators to get involved with whatever part of aviation. There's so many facets, and it's my life. I've done it since I was a little kid, flying model airplanes, then into the airline world and competition aerobatics and airshow aerobatics, and just you feel the excitement here today, right? I mean, everyone's got that same kind of passion of, hey, these things are pure magic up here, and people are amazed they fly. I am too. You know, I fly an Airbus 320 for my job, right? And when I walk around that airplane, I'm looking at this massive metal. Like, how is that even possible, right?
Exactly.
Aviation is just, that's what it is. It's so amazing. And even for me, I just passed 20,000 hours of flying time in July.
Oh, wow.
So I've been doing it for a few years, right? And I'm still amazed all the time. Just being here watching the roulettes pull up in their beautiful airplane here. It's like, wow, look at it. It's sexy. It's beautiful. Aviation's like that, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's really awesome.
Well, Jeff, thanks so much for having a quick chat here as the rain comes down on the hangar roof and the echoing everyone in the building. Looking forward to a great, more like Phoenix weather on the weekend.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be beautiful, right? Hopefully not just like Phoenix. We're about 47 degrees there today. So.
I'm thinking Phoenix winter.
Yeah, right. Yeah, a nice 25 degrees would be perfect. So I think we're on cue for that. It's going to be awesome.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming back on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Air Commodore Micka Gray, hey, great to have you back on the show.
Thanks very much. Always good to talk to you.
I think the last time we were chatting was probably officially was Pitch Black 2014, I think was the last time we had you on the show, so it's been a little while. Back then you were the officer commanding the event. Can you give us a quick rundown of what happened since Pitch Black 2014 for you?
Yeah, so I was Officer Commanding 82 Wing at the time, which we had Super Hornets and our 4 Squadron, JTAC Training Squadron. That was a great time. From there, a couple of years there, and then I went to the US on operating out of headquarters CENTCOM at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa.
Very nice. And then you've gone to active reserve as the head of air shows.
Yeah, in fact, when I came back from Tampa, I was in Canberra as Director General of Advanced and Strategic Capability, so a great range of projects there, including our hypersonics program. So did that, and then a couple of years ago I transitioned to the reserves and picked up head of air shows as my semi-retirement job.
Yeah, because the last time I was doing stuff with RAAF air shows, it was Noddy was in there. So, yeah, big shoes to fill.
Yeah, the airshow, Noddy did a great job. The airshow team's been around for about 20 years, and the purpose was we would do air shows at the Air Force bases, but it was really, former committee and secondary duty to, all the ground logistics, the event planning and the flying coordination. And then, so in the early 2000s, we need a dedicated team to this. It didn't need to be full-time, so there's been a reservist, about 20, 25, and we do everything from the whole ground event, marquees and signage and traffic plans, and we have in works teams in the group to do all that ground event, put all the facilities together, make sure the ground experience of getting there, the parking makes it as enjoyable as possible. And then on the air side, we've got our Air Ops division, which is responsible for the flying program, coordination with all the participants, airspace, all the safety. So yeah, it's a great team.
Yeah, the ground side can be even bigger and heavier to operate and sort out than the flying, no?
Oh, definitely, yeah. In a lot of ways, the flying's the easy bit. Getting the ground stuff right is important because everyone has a good time when they're there looking at aircraft. But you want their experience to be good from the time they get a ticket to get on the bus to park to walk in, and that's difficult and challenging. You never quite get it right, but we're always looking to make that as good as possible.
Massive logistical challenge, but for the Gold Coast event, that's somebody else's problem. So last year is the first one. What special considerations did you have to do last year? And then we'll get on to this year's one.
Yeah, so you're right. The Sam Pearce from Code 4 does a magnificent job. They know how to put ground events on, whether it's Formula One or air shows. And the Gold Coast is such a good facility for that with the council and the government. So we were really impressed. We knew they could do that. And then the flying side, they've got Wayne Boggs, who's one of the most experienced air bosses from the US out here. Tibbsy, who's the actually ringmaster for the event. So lots of experience there. Tibbsy does multiple shows in Australia. So we provide flying display supervisors just to provide that additional support and oversight for our aircraft and coordination. But yeah, we were pretty confident last year it went as planned, and this year it's shaping up to be really good as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up with Tibbsy. He and I have worked on a few shows, him doing Air Boss, me commentating. But yes, his Aussie Air Boss tag on Instagram and on Facebook is going pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's, we're doing a civilian military forum later on the year as part of our Air Force ringmaster course, because there's a real desire to have that meeting of the minds. We're at the same events similar to this, and there's a lot we can learn from each other. The military certainly doesn't have a monopoly on good ideas, and and it's welcome. There's a lot of people, because there's not that many shows. We want to make sure that everyone learns from each other, to improve not only the experience, of course, the safety, the feedback loops, and understanding, how it all comes together and who's responsible for what.
Now, a big part of any air show, of course, is the recruitment value. There's so many people here. Last year, walking around, and my wife was down on the beach with friends, and so many people there had never been to an air show before. This was first-timers. Did you see any noticeable uptick in recruitment that could be traced back to that show?
Yeah, recruiting, track the number of people that, walk into the tent, have discussions, all right through to signing up or, recommitting to sign up. There definitely is. And, people go to air shows, because they've got a huge interest in aviation. But the beauty of this one down at the Gold Coast is that people are just going to an event at the Gold Coast. There just happens to be some amazing flying. So it's a broader demographic, which is important to Air Force, and not only Air Force, to the aerospace industry. For us, it's all about encouraging that science, technology, engineering and mathematics is so important to the nation, to industry, and indeed to the military. So, there's a job for everyone in the Air Force and the Army and the Navy, and you see that on our current campaign, ADF careers. And yeah, so it doesn't matter what they get inspired to do, but, I emphasise you don't have to be, it's not astronaut level things to join the Air Force. We have a few of those, but a few capable of that. But it's really just that broader, it's putting that STEM into practice. There's no greater manifestation of a STEM thing than looking at complex aircraft flying.
And something that we've promoted all the time at Plane Crazy is it's not just the pilots and the aircrew. There's a very broad base.
Yeah, that's true. It's the operators, the maintainers, and the sustainers, and that sustainer is actually hugely broad, right? Because whether it's personnel capability officers, logistics, supply, as you said, the security forces, it goes on. And we try and demonstrate as much as that as we possible, because a lot of people just think about Air Force as aircraft, right? And when you think more about that, you realise that there is so much more to that. And it's more and more the Air Force is about much more. Our capabilities are not just aircraft anymore. We have Space Command, which is Defence Joint Command. We have cyber capabilities and things. So there's it used to be the Air Force. It was all about aircraft, but long may it continue. But equally, it's we have so many other options as well.
So anything special about what's coming up that you're really excited to see?
The thing I like about seeing at air shows is seeing the joy on people's faces and the awe as they look up. And then feeling like, you contribute to that. And ultimately, for us, it's all about reputation and recruiting.
Yep. Well, Micka, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Gary Cooper, veteran of the Vietnam Air War and Ground War, here on the 18th of August, Vietnam Veterans Day. We're at the Pacific Airshow Gold Coast. And sir, we're here to discuss with you what got you into aviation, what got you into the military, and how you wound up with 2 Air Force Crosses and a ground medal.
Well, my interest in aviation goes right back to a child. Like most pilots, they never grow up. And at the age of 16, I started flying gliders because I couldn't get a license to fly powered aircraft. So I flew gliders for a couple of years, and then I qualified age-wise to get a powered aircraft license. First job I got was with the Flying Doctor Service in Port Augusta in South Australia. From there, I went on and gained employment in New Guinea, flying for Pacific Airways, flying old Nordline Norsemans and the Ju-52, the old German tri-motor, corrugated iron thing.
That's a classic to fly in Papua New Guinea.
My intention was to go on airline flying, but unfortunately at that stage, it was in its doldrums and didn't really expand. So I joined the Air Force, and that was in 1960, and I did the pilot's course. First posting I got was to DC-3s at the Air Navigation School, where we also flew the Vampire, Windjaws and Canberra. I did 2 tours down the Antarctic, and then following that was posted to F-86 Sabre flying fighters. I did a tour in Malaya during the Malaysian War in Borneo, and then converted onto the Mirage when it first came into service. Joined 75 Squadron, who were the first squadron to get the Mirage fighters. During that tour, I was posted to 76 Squadron, and then shortly after that was sent to Vietnam on exchange tours with the US Air Force, flying the Bird Dog, which was an unarmed contraption of an aeroplane. The only armament it had was rockets for marking targets. And our task there was to mark targets for the Army and try and keep the enemy at bay from the Army, from being ambushed.
So that was forward air control work where you're marking the enemy so the fast movers come in, drop their ordnance, their napalm and so on.
Yes, that's right. Following that, I went back to Mirages. I got a bit disenchanted with being in the Air Force, so I got out and joined airlines. I first of all went to Hong Kong flying 707s, TriStars, then got a job in the Middle East as a Czech airman flying TriStars. Then I flew for a charter company called Park Aviation in Ireland. Belfast was their headquarters. And they had us with various companies throughout the world, Lufthansa, Air France, Cargo Lux in Luxembourg, you name it. I flew for about 15 different companies. Then, because I was split from the family most of the time, I was only getting home for about a week every 2 months.
Wow.
I then took up a job with ANZ Airlines, who have just had all their pilots leave on strike.
The airline pilot strike, the 80s.
So although I was classified as a scab, I wasn't really, because all I was doing was taking up a vacancy, not remaining and supporting the people going on strike. So I did that for about 8 years. I went back to Germany for 2 years, came back and then retired.
Very comprehensive career flying. It started with civilian operations, ended with civilian airline operations. But while you were in Vietnam, during your time as a forward air controller, that was when you were first awarded the US Air Force Star.
Air Force Cross.
Thank you, Air Force Cross. So you were awarded the Air Force Cross. What were the circumstances that led to you receiving it the first time?
Well, we're doing our usual thing of reconnoitring in preparation to put in airstrikes in support of the 2nd Brigade, who were in conflict with an unknown force of enemy. And I was in a helicopter at this stage, and not the usual Bird Dog, because I was air liaison officer supporting the brigade commander. So there were 3 of us on the helicopter, and we were shot down. I assisted the commander from the wreckage. We spent the night hiding in canals, and we were picked up next morning by a gunship that happened to be doing suppressive fire along the banks of the canal that we're in.
Wow. So you spent the night, crashed, and pulled everyone out of the wreckage and things like that. So that was the reason for the Air Force Cross?
Yes, that was the second one, actually. The first one was right back in May. The second one was for 18th of August, today.
Today, yep.
And the first one was for the 10th of May.
What happened there?
Well, the big siege was on for Saigon. They were attacking Saigon and all other cities at the same time, literally thousands of them. And the unit that I was supporting this day was the 5th of the 60th. They'd been ambushed and lost quite a few people. I came on the scene and marked targets, got the fighters in, and they credit me with saving 200 or 300 ground troops.
So that was a very intense scenario to be in.
Yeah, so the whole period went for about 2 weeks. In fact, it ended up with the war gravitating to Balmoral. I can't think of the name of it now, but Balmoral, the big battle that the Australians are credited for.
Yeah.
So after we'd finished with them and drove them out of Saigon, they went north and came across the Australian Task Force.
And so it was because of those, you got your 2 US Air Force Cross.
Yeah.
And you've also got the ADF's Ground Combat Award, so the medal that you've also got on your chest there. And that was for the fact that you were out there beyond a base in the middle of combat.
Yeah, well, generally, Air Force people didn't get that because they operated from a secure Air Force base. So this is for operations outside the wire, so to speak. So in this particular case, I wasn't with the Australians, with the Americans, as we just discussed. And I did a lot of troopsing around with the Army, US Army, because the Army commander required somebody with Air Force experience to be there to advise on the suitability of targets to be handled by the Air Force.
Okay, and so you were out in the combat environment, in a forward deployed base environment, like a very scarce field.
Yeah, with the Army, living in holes in the ground, and not the sort of thing that an Air Force officer is tasked to do.
Yeah, you're not sitting in your like back at base and so on, and as they say, the flying club with guns.
No, I take my hat off to those guys. In fact, so thankful were they for what happened on the 10th of May that they fly me across to the States every June for their reunion that they had.
Wow.
Most of us these days couldn't imagine the sort of the stress of being in combat in a situation as it was in Vietnam. Putting yourself back in the mindset what was your mindset at that time when you find yourself in those sort of extreme situations and you've got to act? Tell us what that was like psychologically.
Well, you're trained to do a certain job and you do it to the best of your ability, and all depends on the circumstances. But as for feelings, you're dead scared the whole time you're doing it, otherwise you're not human. And you just do the job that's required at the time. There's nowhere to go and hide because you're centre stage when all these contacts are going on. And they're all hiding on the ground waiting for you to get them off the back.
Well, forward air control started, early days was World War II in Papua New Guinea, and then it's now a full-fledged, everyone knows how important it is. So were you feeling like you were leading the way and establishing methods and systems and so on?
Well, as you say, it was during World War II. I think it was 4 Flight they had going then. After my experience in Vietnam, they started up 4 Flight again. Then it ended up as 4 Squadron, I think.
Yes, it is.
And now it's a full-blown thing. It encompasses ground controllers and air controllers. It's quite a big affair. As far as I was one of the first 6 to go up there, and we were to get all this training and then train people after us, and that's where I got a little bit disenchanted because nobody wanted to hear about our experience. But obviously the military, operating very slowly, eventually took up on this, and subsequently they did take notice of what we had to say.
Yes, bureaucracy always seems to work slowly. There's no doubt about that. I don't think anything has really changed between now and then.
No, I think I just got impatient, waiting for things to happen. I thought I'd come back, relate what my experiences. I did deliver the first wind duel to the FAC flight, but things weren't going anywhere. We weren't actually posted into it. We still operated with our squadrons and just part-time flew this FAC aeroplane, which was totally inadequate for the job.
It's a really remarkable spread of aircraft that you talked about leading up to your Vietnam experience, particularly military-wise. That sort of spread of aircraft at that time, was that considered normal within defence spheres at that time? Or it seems to me these days people would just stream into 1 or 2 platforms and that'd be it.
I think it's become more specialised now because piston engine aircraft are all pretty much the same. They got posted around, but then quite a few guys got posted from the Mirage fighter to Caribous and helicopters. So it was starting to change.
Okay, well, Flight Lieutenant Gary Cooper retired. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. An incredible experience. We're very happy to have you here with us. And congratulations on another anniversary of what must have been hell on earth.
Well, thank you very much. And it is nice to be here.
Hi, I'm Dave Homewood from the Wings Over New Zealand show, New Zealand's own aviation podcast series, where we feature the stories of Kiwi pilots, warbird restorers, Air Force veterans, home builders, historians, authors, modelers, stories from aviation museums and associations, airshow reports, and much, much more. The Wings Over New Zealand show loves to bring you the stories of Kiwis who've made their mark on aviation. So find the Wings Over New Zealand show online. Find more about it on the world famous Wings Over New Zealand Aviation Forum and like us on Facebook.
There's really nothing like good, friendly conversation. The kind that gets your brain ticking over while considering some of life's more contemporary issues. I'm Steve Fisher, and each week on the Clear Signal we sit down with a guest or two to chat about news, issues, success stories and much more. Everyone has a story, and we're here to tell them. Find out more at clearsignal.com.au.
Look, let's be honest, Sarah, we've all got to eat.
That we do, Kevin. Food is such a big part of life, isn't it? And talking about food can lead us to all sorts of places and all sorts of people.
Yep. And every week on the Food Bites podcast, we catch up with someone who might be a TV celebrity, a high-profile sports star, a politician, could be anyone. Yeah. And we talk to them about food, their kitchen skills, or, sometimes lack of, life and love.
And Kevin, every week there's the Friday food poll.
Oh, yes. Now, that is Food Bites with Sarah Patterson and me, Kevin Hillier. You can find us wherever you find your favourite podcast, and, of course, every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock on the Ace Radio Network.
Welcome back, folks. One of the things we learnt from the first Pacific Airshow Gold Coast was that by being at the event, and of course the event is a great opportunity to bring an airshow out to the people out from the airport, and we've talked about that many times. But from the standpoint of gathering interviews, it's sometimes a little bit challenging because, of course, all of the people we need to speak to are back at the airport and staging from there. So we decided we'd do something about that this time. We headed out just a few kilometres inland to the Southport Flying Club, and we caught up there with Mark and Angela from the Freedom Formation team as they just got back from their day one display, and also Craig Hobart, who manages the show there at Southport. Okay, Craig Hobart, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much, and so good to have you here today.
And what a beautiful day it is, and it's going to be a busy day here at Southport Airport, and really playing an important role in supporting the Pacific Airshow.
Yeah, well, today's day 2 of the airshow, the Pacific Airshow Gold Coast operation, and we're here supporting in excess of 30 of the assets that are being used in the display program. So we've got a very busy aerodrome here today, supporting all those crews and making sure that they're well fed, well watered, and their machines are ready to go.
And I noticed that there's a pretty high-tech coffee machine downstairs. I've already made use of that, so that's going to get a good workout today.
Yeah, well, we always want to look after our visitors and our members and also the emergency crews that come in to refuel here. So, yeah, we have our own little, we call it the Qantas Club, but of course it's the Southport Flying Club.
Well, I think it really highlights the importance of small airports just like this one. And I noticed that there's an Angel Flight sign as we walk into the Aero Club here. And there's a lot of other activities I see that go on here. I see there's some agricultural aircraft outside. So can we just talk a bit about what this airport does, general operations?
Yeah, so this club was established in 1972. Very humble beginnings. There's 4 poles and a piece of tin downstairs, a photo of it, which is the first clubhouse. And over the since 1972, the club has just celebrated its 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. It's grown. It started with just the members working on working bees and sweat equity, and now we have a $30 million facility, which is just extraordinary legacy of all the work of those that came before us.
And I understand that you've put this together and built this aerodrome without significant financial input from any other sources except purely the club and members.
Yeah, that's right. So the beauty was the vision of the city, the Gold Coast, and the membership was a 50-year lease, a nominal lease as they call them today. Some would recognise it as what we call a peppercorn lease. So a low lease payment and a long duration gave the membership confidence to invest in the site. So that's how we've got to where we are. We just spent $1 million on the runway, widening it to 15 metres. It's a fully sealed, lit runway with a PAPI system. And all that's become possible because of that the duration of that lease that we got at the start.
And I understand you're getting close to the end of that lease, not like years, but still a little way to go. But are you in negotiations to extend?
Yeah, so we're 13 years to run on our existing lease, and that's the appropriate time to start talking to the city about the future of the site. We're having very constructive conversations with them now, and part of our vision, and we've got a strategic plan which people are welcome to read, we're focusing on community. So we've got a proposal in with the city now for Polair to come onto the site. And we're in initial discussions with Lifeflight as well. They don't have an operation in this part of Queensland. Their bases are Archerfield and Toowoomba, but they service the University Hospital, which is 2 miles from here, multiple times a day. So those crews come in and refuel and rest here, but they don't have a base here. So we want to fix that for the city.
So looking around, not a lot of neighbourhood encroachment. As you said to us before we recorded, there's a sewage works not far away, so this is part of the Oda area. And you've got various other commercial, and you're in a big, beautiful area of greenery. So I guess you don't get a lot of people moving in and complaining about the noise.
Yeah, so you raised some very good points there. Yeah, this used to be called an odour zone because we're a mile or so from the Gold Coast sewage works. Obviously, the technology of sewage treatment's advanced quite significantly, so we don't actually have an odour issue here, other than membership.
And that beautiful smell of aviation fuel.
And of course, yes, Jet A and Avgas, 2 of our favourite flavours. Yeah, it's a great location for the city. I mean, for a number of reasons, for them to have this type of operation. Our operation only does recreational aviation. I mean, you mentioned earlier the air tractors. They're here for the display to show firefighting capability. So when there's a fire event or an emergency, this site can be activated as an emergency site, and we have 200,000 litres of firefighting water on site ready to be utilised. So we are a recreational club. So it's a bit like a golf club. You pay a membership fee, which is yours for life, and then you get the privileges of the site. Members can invite guests in to utilise it. There's a signing in procedure to make sure that the insurances are in place and so forth. It's a requirement with our insurance and the city. It's a requirement of the city. So we don't have commercial operations here. Where we are leaning in is in that community area. So things like Polair, Lifeflight, Careflight, Westpac Rescue. We're talking to all those entities, and if we can make room for them, it's a great site. So the control zone above this airport's 3,500 feet, and to the south about 3 miles, it drops to 1,500 feet. So for all of those emergency services, their greatest risk is being put in the queue at Gold Coast Airport. It's nothing to do with the administration. It's a great airport, the city airport of the Gold Coast. And it comes with its challenges, trying to fit in and sequence with RPT work. This site is free to go. So for all of those services, this is an ideal location for the city that they can get up and go and not need to get clearances to get on with their work.
With all that in mind, you operate here as an ALA, an authorised landing area, as opposed to, say, a CASA certified Code 1 airport. Can you talk about why you chose to do it that way and what that means for the airport?
Yeah, so this airport was a Code 1 certified airport till about 2 years ago. We made the decision as a club, we looked at the regs and we looked at our operation, and we recognised that there's a lot of freedom available for us to do and build things being non-certified. Also, the display at the airport, it got to a stage where we had to make a decision on whether we stayed certified or not. It was becoming more and more difficult. We are in discussions with the city to return the display to original specifications, so that will be resolved. But there's a lot of freedom that you get by being an ALA. For example, we widened the runway to 15 metres. We didn't have to go through a process with CASA to get that approved. We put in a lighting system and a PAPI system. We didn't have to go through that with CASA. We're building 4 new hangars as well. We didn't have to go through any approval process other than the city's normal BA, DA approval process. So for a lot of reasons, being an ALA obviously reverts the responsibility from the operator to the pilot. Certified, what you want to know what's on the label is what you get, and that's why CASA does its annual audits on airports. As an ALA, we have more freedom. Our decision as a club, though, is to maintain or exceed CASA standards where possible for safety reasons.
Are you doing flight training here? I know you're not a commercial airport, so to speak, but do you have any trainees flying here with private instructors and so on?
Yeah, it's a good question. We don't do flight ops here for a number of reasons. One is it would be in breach of our lease with the city. It is recreational flying, non-commercial. So that activity is conducted out of Hexfield and that flying club, and they do a great job up there. And also a secondary, or probably the primary consideration for us is noise abatement. So you can imagine, as we all know, with flight training, there's lots and lots of circuits being conducted, touch and goes. And, it's in our interest and the city's interest that this is sort of contained and controlled to keep noise abatement under control.
I mentioned Angel Flight at the start. We talk about operations out of here. Obviously, we're very big supporters of Angel Flight ourselves. Obviously, that's the same here.
Yes. So I've been an Angel Flight pilot personally for 19 years, and I'm now what they call a mentor pilot as well. So people that are coming through that want to become a pilot need to be mentored into the process. I did serve on the board of Angel Flight Australia, and while I was on the board, I saw the opportunity for this to become a base for Angel Flight, the second one in Australia. The first is at Bankstown. So that really fitted in with our vision of being a community asset. And also, again, the Gold Coast University Hospital is a great place for patients to be delivered. So since we've established that operation, we're getting weekly flights now, Angel Flight missions into this site for patients, but equally we've got 17 pilots that are registered with Angel Flight, and obviously we do work wherever that's required. So, for example, we might hop up to Archerfield to pick up a patient and fly to St George or something. So even though this airport's not receiving the patient, our pilots are still very active in the Angel Flight program.
It's very, very important. You talk about the spirit of community. That's really at the heart of it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been an absolute joy for me personally to invest in the Angel Flight work. It's a great charity and does great work. I mean, we've just been through an Olympics, haven't we? And we celebrate Olympians and their success, but the real champions we see every day. Every time you pick up a patient, you're inspired by their humility and their hope, and they're wonderful human beings, every single one of them, and to be a pilot for them is an absolute privilege.
So coming back to Gold Coast Airshow, which is one of the many reasons Steve and I came up here from Melbourne. You said that you've got like 30 assets here, so that's like Matt and Emma. You've got Aaron flying out of here. You've got the Red Star roulettes and Freedom Formation. Freedom Formation's probably over half of those 30 assets. Just saying.
Yeah, a very busy group.
Yeah, so it's keeping you quite occupied. How's it been working with the organizer of the show? This is the second year. How did they approach you about, hey, could you take some of our acts?
Yes. We last year, again, aligned with our community vision, we saw this as an opportunity to step up and support the city of the Gold Coast and more broadly Queensland and even Australia, because it's obviously our defence is on show, as is the United States as well, and we're so grateful for them here and the British here as well. So, we were more than happy to entertain providing a service to the air show, and we gave them a leg up last year, you might say. And this year we've landed on what we call a 4-year agreement. So that gives them certainty, which we wanted to do, and also to help the city. So we're the perfect location for all those aerobatic crews. As you know, they're limited on their fuel take, and they need to carry the minimum fuel to do their work. Otherwise, they're out of CEG or they can't operate. And it's also for safety. We're only 3 minutes flight time from the zone, so it's a perfect location. There's no other location that could provide this. In actual fact, I don't think the Pacific Airshow could operate without this site being online. So, we're more than happy to support, and it's great to see the show going from strength to strength.
And now let's look to the future. So you've just written a strategic plan for the aerodrome. And the club, can you talk us through that?
Well, in 1,000 words or less.
No pressure at all.
I mean, I think this discussion today has probably brought all of that to life. We really want this asset to be a community asset. It's evidenced by the work we're already doing. We have Care Flight, Life Flight, Westpac, Polair. They all refuel here because we're only 2 minutes from the hospital pad, and they also coffee up, and we look after them as we can. They come in at all times of the day and night, and again, this location's perfect. We get no noise complaints about their operations, and even most of our membership don't know that we've had a 7-ton 139 come in at 2 a.m. No one's the better for it. So it's a great location. So the first thing is we want to be a community asset. We're in the process of our lease renewal. We've got 121 aircraft hangars on our site, and we want to make sure that members can freely trade those and know that they're standing on a strong lease. And also for those operators that we're inviting into the site, they want certainty as well. One of those operators may want to spend $3 to $4 million on a hangar infrastructure. They need to know that it's standing on a long-term foundational lease as well. So we're having really good quality conversations with the city now. That's the purpose of the strategic plan. So lease renewal is a primary target for us, and lease expansion is a secondary one. So as the city grows and it needs more service support, there are 4 or 5 service agencies that could be stationed here but can't be on our current lease. The land around us is owned by the city, so it would just require carving out a pencil of land to allow us to put more space in for those operators, and we could all get on very well.
Yes, it's interesting you talk about the city looking favourably upon the airport. Grant and I travel right around Australia and we find some airports don't enjoy that. So I guess getting out there and engaging with the community is a very important part of that strategy, and talking about the importance of an airport like this.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're partly the benefit of the heritage of the club. Like, we stayed below the radar, pardon the pun, with a very long-term lease sitting in in an area that isn't population dense is very helpful. A lot of the challenges that others are having is there is urban encroachment. The other impact is industrial usage of the land. We're fortunate here that the covenant that the state sold to the city this land is that cannot happen. So that provides a protection to the site that's quite unique. So we don't have development or encroachment, whether it be industrial or urban development. So that's very helpful.
Do you have any plans? All your hangars are on one side of the airport. Does the future hold the potential that you could wind up putting hangars on the other side?
That would be totally dependent on, that's a great question, totally dependent on what the city decides it wants to do. So the land on the other side is part of that recreational reserve. So
that's kind of
time will
important
tell.
to keep.
Well, we're great custodians of this site. So just for context, we're 25 acres sitting inside a couple of thousand acres. But to come in and out of this site, we have people on this site 24/7. And so we're kind of, the city doesn't have rangers here at night. They lock the gates to the outer perimeter of the site, but we're in here. And so on numerous occasions, we've provided, if you call it, protection or custody of the site for the city, and we'll continue to do that.
Well, Craig, it's a wonderful facility you've got here, and it's a great service you're providing for the airshow this weekend, for the community in general. So thanks very much, and thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, and I would thank you for the weather you brought up from Melbourne. But as you can see, day 2 is probably going to be the best pick of the 3, although tomorrow looks good as well. They got away with it all yesterday. It was great. Mm-hmm. So the weather's been kind in the end, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here.
Okay, Mark Newton, Angela Garvey from the Freedom Formation Display Team, back from another successful mission.
Yes, we are. It was fantastic and beautiful weather here on the Gold Coast. Thank goodness it cleared, because it was a bit interesting there for the last week.
It's interesting because we're sitting here now back at the Southport Airport, and it's actually quite a stiff breeze has popped up. So was that up there when you guys were up there displaying?
No, but it was in the forecast. We were expecting at about lunchtime the wind would start to pick up, so we're quite pleased to be slotted about 11 o'clock this morning.
Yes.
Now, Mark, we've spoken to you before about 18 months ago, I guess, when the team was in an earlier stage, of its development. Tell us a bit about how that's gone. The team has changed a little. The display has certainly changed a little. So let's walk through that.
So 18 months ago, we had not actually performed yet. So everything we talked about was theoretical. And now the large team, we're on our 3rd large air show, and it seems to be going pretty well. We did a 2023 routine, which was fairly well received. In the interval between last year and this year, we had a couple of team membership changes, and Angela came on board. And the 2024 routine, we think, has turned everything up to 11. It's really fun to fly, and hopefully it's fun to watch.
And I think being included in the flying program in a big organisation like Pacific Airshow, the organisation in general, let alone here on the Gold Coast, is a real endorsement of the hard work you guys have done.
It kind of never stops surprising us. This is a really professionally run event. Like these people know how to put on a show, and for them to invite us last year sight unseen, I think that was a bit of an article of faith. But to invite us back this year, that it never stops feeling strange. It's just extraordinary.
I think it's a real credit to Kevin Elliott and his team here too, that they're prepared to take on local performers, perhaps even people that they're not really familiar with, and to get across and get them in displays like this. Was it a bit nerve-wracking, Angela, for you?
No, it wasn't, because we're so well rehearsed and trained, and Jeremy Miller has obviously got such a great reputation, and the level of his. I come from a professional sporting background as a teenager, and that was a long time ago, of course. But the discipline that he instills, and the routine, and the focus on safety and risk management is unbelievable. And I come from an aviation safety background as well. So the coaching and the training that we receive is unbelievable. So we're prepared, we're confident, we know what to do if something goes sideways. So I came into this very comfortable.
I was going to talk about the influence of Jeremy Miller on the team, so we might just touch on that now. I mean, one of the biggest names, one of the most prominent names in aerobatic instruction here in Australia.
He's had some ambitions about the kind of show that he's always wanted to be able to put on, and this formation team is kind of fulfilling some of his dreams. There are some things that you can only do with a very large group. So one thing that he's always been interested in doing is having a routine that kind of starts off a little bit sedate, but then sort of builds to a crescendo. You can think like a musical movement where it sort of gets really loud and then we're finished. If you watch the way that our routine works, it's kind of like that. We have some pass runs down the crowd line to start with, but the pace of it just keeps building and building and building till at the end where we're doing like combat formation while there's the agitator going in circles above and we're filling the sky with smoke and
music
then
playing.
And whoever's coming behind us then complains that they can't work in the aerobatic box because it's IMC.
I want to pick you up on that though, because you told me this morning when we were having a bit of a chat that there's a bit of a unique aspect to your display that you've integrated, which you would probably see the end of most other display teams' performances, but you've brought it to the front.
Yeah, I don't think there are any other display routines that would start with a formation of 13 aircraft where the very first thing that it does is bomb burst them into 13 individual elements. And that's how our show this year starts. We run directly at the crowd from a couple of kilometres away, and at meticulously arranged timings, we break elements of 3 or 4 or 5 aircraft off and start with a bomb burst, and then we all have to reassemble later.
And if you want to talk about precision, just check their social media later, because the way they can integrate a seagull right into the middle of that bomb burst is absolutely amazing.
I don't like that seagull. There was one chance to get that shot.
Oh my God, it was so funny.
Angela, you talked a bit about coming into the team. You're a little bit newer than some of the other people in the team. How did that come about?
It came about because I, first of all, needed to create a website for my business or service. It's called Navigating Aviation, and it's a specialist aviation counselling service for anyone in aviation, aircraft engineers, business owners, because we don't have that available in general aviation. Bigger airlines and corporate businesses have employee assistance programs and everything available to their staff, but we have nothing in GA. So I went and did a counselling qualification and got that going, but I was having my website developed, and I needed air-to-air photography. And I was doing some aerobatic training with Jeremy and flying his Yak 52, and it was just natural to go and do a formation course with him anyway. But I needed that to do some air-to-air photography. The other thing is that I was at an air show about 3 years ago, and there would have been 30,000, 40,000 people there. And throughout the whole day, all the commentary was all about how great the men were, and look at those fine fellows go, and aren't they fantastic men that fly these aircraft? There was not one woman that represented that air show. And I left feeling very deflated. And though we've got, gorgeous Emma and Tammy Camilleri as well, they weren't there, and it just made me really sad. So I phoned Jeremy and I said, we have to do something about this. This is crazy. So I've been working towards joining the team on the side, and that's what's been happening. You can't just sort of ring up someone and say, hey, can I join a team? You've actually got to show the discipline, show that you've got the skill and all the rest of it. And Jeremy was always confident in me, and he was like, yep, you're in.
It's a really important message to push to people in general that, this is not just something that only men can do, flying, and it's something we've been talking about for a long time on this show. Anyone can do it, but we really do need to we really need to encourage more, and being out there and representing in the way you're doing is a really good way of doing that.
Well, this is why the mining sites have more women and employ women to drive the machinery, because they operate more safely. You're being watched and you're under a watchful eye, so you perform better. And there's a lot of aviation GA businesses out there that do prefer to employ women pilots. Skydiving industry is one of them. They're very, very encouraging of jump pilots. And also Trevor Wright from William Creek, he often mostly employs women.
Now, tell us about the challenges of coming into a team that was already established and having to work your way in. Was that a pretty seamless process? Did Mark give you a really hard time about that, or was he really diplomatic?
No, I guess anyone new coming into a team, always, everyone's kind of, they're not sure, or it takes time to kind of build that confidence and all the rest of it. And because I was new to big formations as well, there were no problems, but it certainly takes time to kind of really feel like one of the team members. But they were all the team members were very welcoming and very supportive, and unbelievably supportive. Helping me get my smoke tank, installing smoke switches. Always giving their time. So it was amazing. It has been great.
Integrating a new member into an established team is an important risk management exercise as well.
It's nothing to do with gender.
Yeah. Like we have our established procedures, SOPs. We try to live by them. We certainly want to live by them.
I think that's a really important aspect, because people see you up there and flying, and it's not just a matter of getting together every other weekend, is it? There's a lot that goes on to set this up, to get it approved by regulators.
Yeah, and I guess a good airshow routine makes the people on the ground think that it's kind of, risk and daring do, whereas the people in the sky are just going, right, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and if it goes wrong, we have this plan and also this plan, and it's very regimented and scripted in the air. On the ground, we like it to look chaotic and dangerous and oh my God, look at all that. But you can't have it like that in the air.
No, it's very well rehearsed.
One of the things with RVs I notice is, because they're a home-built sort of kit aircraft, aren't they? There's lots of different, I imagine, I don't fly them, but I imagine there's lots of different performance profiles to take into consideration now. There's 13 of you in this display team. How do you manage that?
Carefully.
Yeah,
I mean, we have engine sizes ranging from 160 horsepower to a bored and stroked 200 horsepower. Oh, actually, no. We have, one of our members has an RV8 with a Subaru engine in it that's producing about 300 horsepower.
Wow.
We have fixed pitch and constant speed props. And the biggest difference that makes is the acceleration and deceleration on uplines and downlines, and being able to keep the formation nice and tight and regular in a turn. Like if you're on the outside of a turn, you need to accelerate as you go into the turn, because you're covering more racetrack miles than you are on the inside.
Yeah.
And having a bit of power margin to do that is always very valuable. And the smaller engines with fixed pitch props, it's just that little bit harder. You have to anticipate a little bit more and sort of pour on the coals, a second or two before it's needed, and apply a little bit more judgment than you do if you've got 200 horsepower and a constant speed propeller.
Which brings me to your training schedule. Have you had to step that up with, as the team has expanded? You've obviously had to step that up and keep that going.
We have every month and a half we meet for a training camp over 3 days. So we do everything together as a team. We have breakfast together, we have dinner together, we have lunch together. We all stay at the same place. So it's very much a team bonding, team training, everything. And so we try and do about 4 flights a day. And by the end of the day, we're pretty exhausted. And then in between training camps, we also meet up and try and get together and even just three or four of us try and get together and just practice some kind of element of the training camp in between training camps. So leading the last sort of 6 months leading up to this has been quite focused.
Okay. I have to say the training program this year, because Eastern Australia's weather has been sucky. Let's just say sucky.
It's been a winter, that's for sure.
Yeah. So we lost basically a training camp worth of days to weather. So last weekend, the weekend before the airshow, we sort of did a supplementary one at Kingaroy.
Yep.
And we cannot say enough good things about the way that Kingaroy rolled out the welcome mat for us. The gliding club was doing meals for us. The local council put something on their Facebook page saying that we were practicing, and there were like 100 cars lined up along the runway fence watching, which surprised us. We usually do our practice in the middle of nowhere where nobody's looking.
Yep.
But the way Kingaroy rolled out the welcome mat was just extraordinary. So thank you, Kingaroy.
That's great. And it's great to see such support. And of course, none of this could be possible without your sponsors. We really need to mention those.
Yeah, so we have the Sports Aircraft Association of Australia, the SAAA. Mm-hmm. They've been with us for the last couple of years and have been very generous. We basically encapsulate their whole message about home-built aircraft. We're living the dream there. The other sponsor that we've had for the last couple of years that we are very pleased to have and has been extremely helpful is Sky Fuels. They've provided a lot of fuel for our training program.
Mm-hmm.
AVPlan EFB.
Yep.
You've had Bevan on the show before. Everyone listening to this show knows what AVPlan's all about. And also, just more recently, Bremont Watches, a British watch company. They also provide watches to anyone who ejects. So you get your tie from the ejection seat company, and also a Bremont watch.
So bag seats for the RVs, is that?
That might be a little bit heavy. We'd have a weight and balance problem.
Yeah. What lies ahead for you guys?
We're not sure. I do know that we're performing at the Armidale Regional Council Spring Festival next year. That's definitely locked in.
Excellent.
So that's beautiful because I manage the airport at Armidale. And we're hoping for some, obviously Pacific Airshow next year and maybe Avalon. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And Wentworth.
The SAAA Fly event at Wentworth, definitely. We have to give back to our sponsors.
Very good.
We appreciate having them.
Yes.
Now, Angela Garvey and Mark Newton, before we go, and thank you for joining us. Now, I just want to talk about how you might have bested that other aerobatic team. You want to have a quick dig about that while we're recording? Look, I can see the smile on your face from ear to ear.
If any members of the Roulettes want to do some interesting flying, we're opening the doors for tryouts in a couple of months. Just get in touch. Might be able to put in a good word for you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Roulettes. They used to like us. They probably won't know how to do that.
But, they'll have to be integrated into the team just like I was. It takes time.
They'll have to do a training program.
They will,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thanks for joining us. It's so great to catch up.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Welcome aboard the High Fly Media podcast, dedicated to sharing the stories and experiences of the amazing people who make aviation happen. From pilots like me to engineers, air traffic controllers and others. I'll explore their personal journeys, the challenges they've faced and the triumphs they've achieved. My name is Damien, and I'll be your host. Whether you're a seasoned aviation enthusiast or new to the field, I invite you to join me as we take off on this journey of discovery. Subscribe now on your favourite podcast platform and leave a review to help spread the word. You can find me at highflymedia.com. That's HIFLY media.com. Uncovering the people and passion behind aviation, one story at a time.
So the new GE Aviation GE9X engines they're building for the new 777X have a 10%...
Carl, what on earth are you on about? It's like a different language.
Here at the Plane Talking UK studios, we like to do things a little differently. If you've got a keen interest in aviation, join us each week where we'll give you an in-depth rundown of all the weekly news from around the world with a focus on what matters to us here in the UK.
With regular interviews from people living and working in the industry, we'll take you behind the scenes of some of the biggest air shows, airports and airlines from across the globe. To find our podcast, take yourself to www.planetalkinguk.com. Look for us on iTunes, like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
the Plain Talking UK podcast, the show where we talk plain English made by a passenger for anyone.
And we're back, folks. Just before the third block, I just wanted to help clarify for some of you that, these adverts, we're not getting paid for them. We're doing these to help promote organisations and people and other podcasts that we think are worth knowing about and worth your time, effort, and maybe some support if you're able to spare a few shekels. And with that, let's get into the final block of interviews. This one has the last three that were recorded on the last day as well, as we're all getting ready to go home. And the first one is with Mandy Henschel. She's, of course, with Westpac Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service. We first met her in the last year's show, so she's back to tell us what's changed. And we also have a chat with Scott. He's one of the rescue crew in the back, and he tells us all about his very important role and also what it's like to be dangled on the end of the rope at the bottom of the helicopter as they fly over the ocean. And then finally, as Steve mentioned at the start, to wrap it up, we'll have the chat with SydSquad. Here we go, folks.
Mandy Henschel, yeah, let's get in the groove. Westpac Lifesaver Helicopter. It's been a hot year. I can't believe it's gone so fast, but here we are back at the Gold Coast Air Show, and you're here again.
Yeah, bring it on. It's been amazing. I'm with you. I'm not sure where the last 12 months has gone. To be honest, it feels like we were just here yesterday, but it's been crazy. Crazy year. Keeps us out of trouble.
Well, a whole year, and what's happened? In a nutshell. Really
in a nutshell. Right. Very quickly, we've had lots going on. Obviously, our choppers have been busy patrolling the beaches, and then also we've had some additional events, we've had some additional fundraising sponsors coming on board, and we've just been growing the profile of our service and doing a lot of community engagement.
Community engagement is really key with any service like this. Have you found that since you've come to a really high profile event like this that it's really helped with your profile and with fundraising and awareness and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think someone told me last year that we got the helicopter in front of, there's an amazing machine. Sorry, the Osprey's just flown past. It's amazing.
Caution, we pause interviews for Ospreys.
Yes, I love that. So, someone was telling me that I think we got the chopper in front of over 300,000 people last year, which is just amazing for our service, and the amount of people we got to speak to at the air show and the community. They've just been so supportive of our service, and even this morning, someone came and dropped off a beautiful thank you card and dropped us off some chocolates and some naughty treats. So, it's been lovely.
I suppose people eating too many chocolates might end up using your service a bit more often. In fact, I found myself in an ambulance not long after I spoke to you last, so maybe too many chocolates from me.
Yes, well, we're very big on healthy living and eating not too much chocolate. That's what we're sharing with all.
You sound like my cardiologist anyway.
And your wife.
And my wife.
Yes. Look after yourself, guys. It's very important.
Oh, yeah. So, since we last spoke, I understand you've got the Polair contractors come on. How much strain has that put on you folks to juggle that with the life-saving as well?
Yeah, so we have an amazing team, very capable, very highly trained. So, the output of work has been massive for that from our crew perspective. But, of course, they're up to the task and they've succeeded with all of their expectations, and they're just amazing. So, obviously, you spoke to Gibbo last year. Yep. He's amazing. He's just so integral in this business, and he's just such a mentor for a lot of us within the service. He's amazing.
Fantastic. So today it was surf lifesaving, then it was Polair. Where are you going tomorrow? What can you tell us about the future? How's that looking for you?
Hey, that's a great question. Look, for me personally, with regards to the service, it's just about growing our brand and having that community engagement, bringing on some more funding, and aviation's expensive, so, as everyone knows, it's just, we've got an amazing team. We could not do what we do without our team. We've got our volunteer rescue crew who come on the weekends and man the machine. Without them, we just couldn't do it. So it's onwards and upwards from here, I think.
With the extra workload, have you had to take on more aircraft, or are you doing it with the existing fleet?
So we're still functioning the Westpac Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service. We've still got the two. So we've got the EC-135s based at Caloundra and one at Carrara. That's for our fleet. And then obviously we've got that different.
Yeah, they've got the Polair have their own fleet, and that's their fleet, not allowed to touch.
Yeah, pretty much. They, obviously our pilots can be flying on both, but they're very highly skilled and trained, and I can't speak high. It's like I've just got another 12 brothers, So yeah, they can be a bit annoying though, I can tell you.
Yeah, well, I've heard from a few ladies who've had more than 2 brothers that, the more brothers, the more annoyance.
Yeah, exactly. No, we're like a really close-knit family, and I couldn't do, even Macca, he's been on the ground for 3 days just talking to everyone, just as a community engagement, and without them, we couldn't do what we do.
Cool. Well, Mandy, thank you so much for coming back on the show and giving us an update. It is awesome to see you again.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you again next year, hopefully.
Bring it on. Here we go, 25. Here we go. Thanks, guys.
Scott Andrews from the Westpac Lifesaver Surf Rescue Helicopter. That's a mouthful and a half. Welcome to Plane Crazy Down Under. How are you doing?
I'm sensational today, and thanks for having us on your show and supporting us for the 2nd year in a row. It's brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, yeah, we spoke to Gibbo last time about flying these things. So now we need to talk to you about what it's like to be crew in the back and to also wind up, as the phrase goes, being jiggled along like a tea bag as you do a water rescue.
Absolutely. So I started my career in surf lifesaving as a patrolling lifesaver or a lifeguard on the beach, and progressed through a range of skills through our jet skis, our rescue watercraft, communications, coordination, to finally end up to qualify for the helicopter here. The fitness test journey was amazing, nothing like the US Coast Guard swimmers, but amazing enough. And then being able to experience what it's like for the aviation safety, all of the aviation mindset, to be able to then come down on the wire. And my very first rescue was within around about a month of qualifying, and at night time. It was a dad and his 3 children. They weren't in immediate danger, but were in a bit of distress. And the first thing that Dad did when I got to them was literally just handed me his 4-year-old. Hadn't even said a word yet, and he just entrusted in us to look after his family and just gave me his young one. And that still gives me shivers talking about that today.
You talked a bit about the fitness standards, but take us through a bit of the training regime that you went through to get into this role.
Sure. So because our service with the Westpac Lifesaver Rescue Helicopter Service in Queensland, I did the mouthful,
Thank you.
Is a voluntary from most of our crew perspective. So we have some paid staff that look after our check and training and crew coordination, but our crew is predominantly volunteer. So we draw through the ranks of lifesaving. We look for a range of experience around staying calm under pressure, operational capability as they have already demonstrated as a lifeguard or lifesaver. Through the fitness testing, very few people don't make the fitness test, but then we're looking for things like attitude, safety, mindset, professional mindset, because we have to keep safety at the forefront of everything we do. We can teach all of the skills necessary, but if you're not willing to learn and absorb and do it safely, that's when we become a risk to the entire operation. So the fitness testing, as I mentioned, most people get through. Once we then go through the aviation training, that can take anywhere from a couple of weeks if we're doing it full-time intensive to a couple of months if we're only doing it, say, 2 or 3 times a week. It takes you everything from ground safety, aircraft safety, general husbandry of the aircraft, right through to our rescue capabilities, both on land and in water.
So do you also do a medical course as well beyond basic lifesaving?
No, so excellent question. All of our surf lifesavers here within Queensland to be eligible to join our service have to be at a base level already, which is one step beyond what the average lifesaver or lifeguard would be on the beach. So we expect the crew coming to us with a level of capability to operate on their own in those intense situations, and we teach them the aviation side of things. We don't do full aeromedical transport. Our machine isn't large enough to carry the equipment that we're required to under Australian laws or Queensland laws. However, a lot of our crew are professional in the health industry. Plus we have a wide range of crew, everything from legal to technology to physiotherapy, just an amazing mix of really, really talented and capable people.
So rescue sort of, I guess, triage, I suppose, would be something you might look at doing, bringing a patient potentially back inland.
Absolutely. That ability for them to be able to self-assess on the ground individually while the pilot and the air crew are orbiting and potentially moving away from the area to keep it a bit quieter for them. That rescue crewman on the ground or in the water has got to immediately triage, decide the best course of action. Are we going to lift them out? Are we going to stay with them and exfiltrate them manually? Do we need to leave them here, package them up and get a bigger machine, or are people in by foot to carry them out? So that really comes back down to the person on the ground to make that decision. Aircrew and pilot trusting implicitly the decisions they make.
When you're talking about the decision-making process, what would be the threshold that would distinguish between you going out in the chopper versus somebody going out, perhaps in a boat to rescue someone? What is the threshold for that?
A lot of the time it will come down to response time. We can get there a lot quicker than what other vessels, marine vessels, will do, especially if they're not fully aware of their location. But once we get on site, at the end of the day, and that's the reason why we come through the ranks of surf lifesaving, we're about putting the surf lifesaver back in the water or back on the land with the people in trouble. And so the aviation side gets them to the point, sometimes quicker than normal, but then we fall back to that emergency care and the life-saving side of the equation and continue with that patient care until we can hand them over to higher qualified paramedics or, if necessary, ambulance transport, other means to get them to safety.
Now, you mentioned safety and that safety is forefront with all this. So how does it go when you go through the checklist before a mission and you go, we cannot do this, it is outside our parameters?
Yeah, and I think that's probably, excellent question again, and that's probably one of the things that's most difficult to learn. Surf lifesaving by nature was started by a group of individuals that were risking their own lives to go and save others. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the way you look at it, in aviation, there is no room for those unsafe decisions, and we have to be realistic about the capabilities of ourselves, the capability of the crew working together, and ultimately the aircraft's ability to do what we need it to do. And so if anywhere in our crew, although we've got a pilot in charge, we've got an air crewman as the dispatcher and the rescue crewman, our CRM is such that if any one of those participants is uncomfortable, even if we're already on site, we don't do the job because it's just not worth it. However, given our contacts and our experience and our range of decision-making processes, we'll come up with a plan B so that the people that we're looking out for still have options. We don't just leave them high and dry, so to speak.
And would you take advice from other agencies, such as, for example, the Navy might come into mind? Would you, do mentoring perhaps with them?
Absolutely. So most recently, we visited one of the helicopter conferences here locally, and we asked for the ATSB to come in and just do a professional development for our crew. What are the common causes of incidences that they see that are relative to our organisation, so that we can learn from that and we can potentially adapt that into our own training. Skills and techniques and gear and equipment are two things that are very, very hard to do on a limited budget. So if we can share information with other services who are doing likewise capabilities, it just means that we can increase our skills that much quicker without having to go through the rigmarole of trial and error of a range of equipment.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great to learn about what it takes to be and what it takes to do the role of the rescue crewman and general crew on board these helicopters. Really appreciated your time, and thanks for chatting with us.
Thanks so much, and we'll see you next year.
Sure will. All right, we're at the end of day 3, and before we go, we can't let these guys. I have Kurt and Matt here from the SydSquad. Awesome guys, and before we say anything, my employer wants me to let you know that my workplace productivity has dropped at night about 75% thanks to both of you, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
Lovely. Yeah, good on you, Steve, and Grant, thanks for having us here today on the podcast. And it was lovely to meet you as well during day 3 of the air show.
You guys do such awesome work. I just love it. People say, "Oh, you're a real av geek and you're a real nerd," and you know what? Yeah. I am, unashamedly so. But the way you guys present the stream from Sydney Airport, how many nights a week do you do that?
It's not on a calendar, but. And it's not at night time all the time. Yeah. But we try to get out there, once or twice every couple of weeks, and sometimes we get out there a little bit more regularly. But we don't operate to a schedule. We just it's something that we do as a hobby, as you mentioned, and it's done in our spare time. And obviously we've got like work and families and things like that always take priority first.
The things that get in the way.
Exactly. of our hobbies. But no. And so we're blessed to be able to go out, a couple of times a week or, every 2 weeks and, sit by the airport, put up our camera and our sticks and, just go to town and enjoy the airport, which is great. Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of these live streams at airports sort of springing up everywhere. I suppose the god of all of these would be Jerry Dyer over there at Big Jet TV, a really big personality, but it's the way it's presented. Now, tell us a bit about how you chose to do it. Did you want to do it the way Jerry does it, with it, with the flair, or put a bit of radio work to it? You've obviously got radio voices.
Yeah, funny. We met Jerry, and I spun him around Sydney Airport in the back of the car and showed him the spots. Actually, so he's a lovely guy.
You say easy, son, easy, son.
Yeah. He's got a couple of other words in the vocabulary as well.
Yeah, I bet he does.
I guess we just do it our way. We're the SydSquad boys, and I guess the three of us has been mates as well, and kind of we put our own kind of way of doing it, but at the same time, I don't know, it's just our Aussie way of doing it, and that's just how we bring it to the party, I guess.
Yeah, we originally started as a group of guys in COVID when we were locked down, just doing some flight simulation live streams. And because we couldn't go out to the airport and do plane spotting, so we all just got online, and that was a good way for us to stay connected and keep doing what we were doing. And then when the bans lifted and we could go outside, then we started going back to the airport, and plane spotting then started to regrow into what it is today. But I suppose it was around that time where like digital media and everyone working from home and a lot of online tech started to grow, and so you took that out to the airport space, and you could then it's new media. It's going to the airport and standing there and streaming it and sharing it with thousands and thousands of people, and so that's where we took it after being inside locked in during COVID. And we've just seen organic growth. Obviously, said you've got Jerry over there in the UK. There's a couple of guys that do it in the States and around the world, and there's a really big following. And I think obviously with the internet and people being at home, having the opportunity to be able to just sit there and watch the show without going to the airport. And especially because we're Australian, it's so relatable to a lot of, like yourselves, people that know the airports because they travel through them regularly. They see the planes, the Qantases and, the Virgins, and those airlines are quite iconic and familiar for Aussies. So we've actually got a really big Australian base of viewers as well, which is really nice, actually.
And I think also, when we do have our overseas viewers that, don't see our airlines like Virgin Australia, Jetstar and all those smaller airlines, it kind of raises their interest as well, that they want to know more about those airlines as well. So we're bringing Australia, I guess, to the bigger audience.
And it's really about dream building. Grant and I talk a lot about dream building, particularly with younger people, and it's kind of the equivalent now of, I think back to the 70s, going with my father to Tullamarine Airport and just sitting at the end of the runway, which is still very cool to do, but if you can't do that, you've got these options now.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. And, we often catch up with a lot of people and they say, we love your show, we're watching your show, and, my 10-year-old is just fascinated with your show. And you know what? For Matt, myself and Tim, when we hear stories like that where we've got little kids that are watching the show and, their parents entrust us, to put on a nice show, and for us, we've got really good values at the show. It's family friendly, so it's it's child friendly. We have a bit of banter and it's a bit of fun and it's a bit of laugh, but we're always very respectful of our audience, and obviously we really appreciate them. But it is for the younger generation as well. It's so inspiring to see them looking up to us. And like role models in a way of, I don't know, can you be a plane spotter role model? Or
why not?
Sure. Something like that.
100%.
And I mean, and for us that, gives us so much, inspires us to want to keep doing what we're doing, and we're having fun along the way.
And I also think we had a members or a viewer catch up on Friday, and there was a family, and they became SydSquad fans from their son. So, he's just started watching it, and they were like, what are you watching on TV? And he's like, SydSquad. And now the whole family are just obsessed with it. Yeah. And so I guess, like you were saying, these 10-year-olds are loving the show, and then the whole families are getting involved and just loving it as well.
And, you get out to other airports, but Sydney Airport, have you spoken to the guys there? What do they think about what you're doing?
Yeah, we've got a good relationship with the people at Sydney Airport, and Tim and I are based in Sydney. We work with the airport, employed by the airport, so they know who we are, and obviously we've worked with them to understand where we can and can't go to put on the shows, and obviously we follow their guidance and their counsel about their requests or whatnot, but we do. We have a good relationship with them, and they're on board. And in fact, I should say they've got plane spotters in mind all the time when we talk to them about giving opportunities, areas of opportunities for plane spotters to be and things like that, which is really, really good. And we hope that continues into the future because. There's always lots of places. Plane spotters always want to go places to get the best views. Yep. But it's also important that the places that we do go, the airport needs to make sure that they're safe as well for everybody, and so everyone can enjoy the hobby.
And on that topic, and Steve's brought up the past, so I'll do the same. So back in the early 90s, used to go down to Gate 20. It was a bunch of us known as the Gate 20 Club. And we'd go and hang out down there. It was down near the old fire station and all that. Watch the aircraft come and go. There were pilots, there were enthusiasts, there were lovers, the usual kind of stuff. So is Gate 20 still there? And also they when they were building the second runway, they made a mound for us. They built this lump that we could all get on to get photos because they were seeing us. A lot of the guys were using step ladders to get over the fence to get their photos. So some of the Earth Mover guys made a mound there. So I was just wondering if Gate 20 and the mound, because I think they all got gone.
You're probably showing your age there, Grant. I'm just trying to think about Gate 20. I don't know, actually. I'm not too sure. Yeah, and the mound either. But
it was just before you went, if you were going from west to east, it was just before you went under the runways.
Right.
On the left-hand side.
On the left-hand side. So that would, near the fire station there. So that area is still accessible. You can go around there. Yeah. Most of the plane spotting in that location now is just underneath the bridge and then along Lady Robertson Beach, which we call the 3-4 beach area.
Okay.
So, that's quite a popular spot there for people, but I don't know of this Gate 20 club, but
there could be a good chance that we don't know about Gate 20 and it's a secret spotty location.
It was the last time I was there was probably in '93 with a young lady to go and watch some aircraft, and then it was like, we're going to go now. But we didn't want to stick around and join the people who were further down doing something interesting.
Right.
Now, of course, anybody can go and stick a camera at an airport and do a live stream, but one of the good things you guys do is you present it really professionally. Do you have media backgrounds? Do you have a radio background at all?
Nothing at all. No, nothing. No media background. I don't know.
I definitely don't. No, I'm IT background.
Look, like we always say, like Matt was saying before, we're just a bunch of Aussies. We're just a bunch of blokes who just go out there and just talk and make it up on the fly. We have a lot of fun doing it. Maybe because we're passionate about the hobby, and maybe because we're in the industry, we might know a thing or two, so we can, make it sound like we know what we're talking about.
For sure.
Yeah, I think obviously we're self-taught, and we're being self-taught. The more we do it, I suppose we'll learn things along the way. But
like riding a bike.
Sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it, Grant?
Yeah. Looking back, like we say, don't listen to the first.
So
what
about to you guys? What about your interest in us, and sort of where did that stem from? Because I, as I mentioned earlier offline, that I was quite chuffed when I saw you watching our live show.
It was a Mutual Admiration Society. I couldn't believe the reaction. I was like, they know who I am. Good lord.
Yes.
Well, I just liked watching it. I did like watching Big Jet TV, and it just YouTube, the algorithm picks it up, and then you start seeing these other suggestions like, oh, look, there's a stream from Sydney Airport. How cool is that? And I note with interest that there's a guy doing Melbourne Flyer, I think he's called now. So there's
Tim and Mick down there in Melbourne.
The only problem with Melbourne is you guys are kind of blessed at Sydney. You got Sheps Mound, of course, and all those great spotting locations. It's actually not quite as easy to get it. There's not, unless you really want to pay a fortune and go up to like T4 at Melbourne Airport. It's actually a bit hard. So I think the Melbourne Flyer guys have got a bit of a challenge there. But
well, this is what we always say. At Sydney Airport, I think we've got about 8 or 9 sort of different spots around the airport that you can go to. And I'm looking at Grant and he's going, I know the mound.
Sheps Mound.
That was what that's what it's called now.
Colloquially, we used to just call it the mound.
Yeah.
And then back in 2017, Sydney Airport, took it upon themselves to redevelop the area. And then they named it after a famous plane spotter who I know well, passed away back in 2005.
Yeah.
His name was Bruce Shepherd. So now it's been nicknamed Sheps Mound.
Yeah.
So
well, in 2007, I've actually got footage of it actually being the mound, like just a dirt mound, and cars getting bogged after a downpour of rain.
Yeah.
So that made complete sense. So
So because they built something as they were building the second runway. They put something in for us.
I did. On that note, before we did just digress to Sheps Mound, I was going to say that at Sydney Airport, we've probably got about 8 or 9 different spots that you can go and look at the planes at. So we are blessed when you compare it to places like Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I think what I'd like to say to the plane spot is that we're going to be grateful for the spots that we have, because there are airports that just don't, either they don't allow you to take photos at airports. You might only have one plane spot to go and look at. I mean, we've got 8. I think I'd encourage everyone to go out and explore them all, and spread yourself around, because and we shouldn't be so greedy, I suppose. But but we're lucky in Sydney, and we'll take advantage of that.
Now, you talk just before we wind up. You talk about good family values that you have on the channel, which is awesome, and I think that extends to Little Wings, who you sponsor. Tell us about them.
Yeah. So, Matt, did you want to?
Yeah, for sure. Back in when we were doing flight sim, our good mate Nigel brought us to the attention of Little Wings, and we did a small fundraiser for them, and then as the channel grew, we then had a lot of people interested in merchandise, but we didn't want to do merchandise for the sake of money or anything like that. So we thought, well, why don't we make it to the point where all our proceeds and the money that we make from the merchandise go to something important, and that being Little Wings. And I think it's just amazing with the response and
Little Wings is great.
It's a great thing you do.
Kudos to Claire and the team at Bankstown Airport. That's where they're based in Sydney. And so if you don't know, Little Wings is an aviation charity that they fly sick kids into from their regional centres into big cities to get medical treatment that they otherwise wouldn't be able to get in their hometowns. And so it's a charity that we probably all wish didn't need to exist, but they do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, one, they're an aviation charity. They like planes. So it's right up our alley. We're into planes. We're into aviation. And for us, it just gives us no greater pleasure to be able to give back in a way. And so all the proceeds from our merchandise go to charity, and we also raise money on the side also, just to give back to charity, and a really good relationship with them, and for sure we plan to continue that as well.
And I think also just the fact that we can give them that extra exposure as well. We've got
a great platform for it.
Yeah, we've got 100 and whatever subscribers, 1,000 subscribers now, 112,000 subscribers, and it allows us to expose that to the whole world.
Yep.
And I think that's just another.
It brings it home even more, Steve, when you've got families that are recipients of their service that actually watch the show.
Yeah.
And when we found that out, all I wanted to do was meet them and just say hi, and they were so happy to meet us. They're based in Canberra. They know who they are, and it was just such a really nice. And their child, unfortunately, has got cancer in both eyes, and he's not going to have, the same life that, you and I might have. And so if we can just do something a little bit, give back to community, and, we're all family people here, so it makes us feel good.
That's a perfect way to wrap it up, guys. Continue success. It's a great channel. And before we go, tell people if they, for some strange reason, don't know where to find you, where could they find you?
Yeah, you can go and check us out on YouTube. It's SydSquad, one word, SYD Squad, or look us up at sydsquad.com.au.
Good, Matt. Thanks very much. Great to meet you.
Thank you, guys. See you, great.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
And there we go, folks. I was really pleased to catch up with those guys from SydSquad. I spend a lot of time watching them. It's just cool to have that sort of burbling away in the background in the late night shift hours that I work sometimes in my day job. The only thing that, obviously is a bit of a challenge for them in terms of timing, at least as far as I'm concerned, is that they stream most of the time from Sydney Airport, and that has a curfew. So at 2300, they close down. Well, you get with it, Sydney Airport. I don't finish work until 0200 most days.
Yeah, I think you should be writing into the politicians and saying, get rid of this curfew. Stuff the Sydney-siders. Think of the late night workers.
Yeah, but the guys have been getting around, actually. In fact, they've just come back from a trip to Bangkok, where they've been doing some streaming from there. And they were also streaming. There was a number of other people that do similar work to what they do that were all streaming. And I know that was a little bit frowned upon by the Pacific Airshow Gold Coast, but I think of note, even one of those streams, the SydSquad stream, was actually playing in the airport down at Southport when we were streaming out. So maybe that's something that we all need to get our heads together and work with, because I think the way those guys present it, it's very, very professionally done. And I think that could be a real asset to the air show going forward. I mean, a lot of people are doing it, and these guys are amongst the best.
Yeah, I remember some air shows we've been at where things have been live streamed, and it really helped because you had a lot of people who wanted to be there. But then there were the people who just couldn't quite make it, but wanted to tune in, and they had a few hundred people watching who otherwise couldn't have made it.
Now, I said, Grant, that I also wanted to mention, now that we've played that interview with Gary Cooper, and just a stunning story there, an amazing story, and talking to some people that are working with him in the background, I got to say the defence establishment in this country have really let him down. The man is a hero, and he has been largely ignored, and I think that's a disgrace. So that's something that I think we all need to think about when, people who've gone out and represented our country. Yes, war is horrible and none of us support that, but this man has worn the uniform of our country, and to be ignored in the way the defence establishment has done that over time, and we're talking over decades now, I think, frankly, Grant, is disgraceful.
Yeah, well, as you may have noticed from the recent inquiry into veteran suicide and so on, there's a long way for our country. Like many others, we're not the only one.
True.
There are many countries that need to pull up their socks and really improve their game of looking after the people who have gone out put themselves on the line. Many of them not in official war zones. I know a number of people who've come back from the Middle East where they were working and they've got PTSD because of just the stress of going out and being on, like, any time they stepped out of the base, just the stress from any time they stepped out of the base and even being on the base, they were at risk. And it was pretty intense.
Yep.
And that wasn't a shooting war.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I just wanted to. I've been motivated to put in my 2 cents worth about that ever since we recorded that interview because, I think particularly, our Vietnam veterans were never treated well. Everybody, I think, acknowledges that in these modern times. And I think this man, quite frankly, I think he, should be considered for a VC or something like that. He's saved a lot of lives in a combat zone under fire, and as he talked about there, I think that's something that should be acknowledged in a far more formal way.
Yeah, and this is not new. Look at what happened with Owen's Upstad.
Yeah,
and
there's another
getting his awards.
Yep, there's another example there. So anyhow, I'll jump down off my soapbox now, but that was a real privilege to speak to Gary. And I know we spoke of Brian Coleman as well. Brian also recorded an interview with him just after we did ours. So head on over to the Journey is the Reward podcast, and he'll have a slightly different take in his interview, and I'm sure that'll be that was equally as interesting to listen to as well. So there you go. Okay, well, that's everything we have for you in this edition of Playing Crazy Down Under. Thanks for joining us, folks. I know it's been a long one, but as I say, it's been a while since we put one out, so I think a long one is well in order. And Grant, it doesn't end there. We've been recording another really fascinating interview, which we'll have out very shortly.
That's right, mate. There's a bit more content in the hopper. It's not just all Pacific Air shows and then Void. We have actually been trying to do some recording. So, we should have another episode out in the hopefully before Christmas, not too distant future.
That's right. And just as a hint, that episode will be rocketing its way to you soon, Grant. Is that cryptic enough?
Mate, it's a pretty high altitude number, that one.
Yes, fascinating. And one that, quite frankly, speaking to some very, very intelligent young people, and gives you a bit of hope. So that'll be coming up in the next few weeks. Until then, thanks for joining us, folks. Have fun, fly safe, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Find show notes for this episode, along with our contact details and a full back catalogue of shows, at planecrazydownunder.com. Drop us a line anytime with feedback, story suggestions, or advertising inquiries. We'd love to hear from you. Title music is You Name It by Brian Simpson. Plane Crazy Down Under is a Southern Skies media production.
Southern Skies Media.